So, I mean, if it comes to it, you know, here's what it is. Are you going to pay more in interest? Yes. Could your credit rating be 740 instead of 750? Yes. What's your credit rating going to be if you run out of cash and can't pay anything?
I can see the whole wide world with these two eyes, and I can be whoever I want to be, 'cause it's my life.
Hi, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Ask Spurl CPA. I am here with Trevor from Inspired Method.
Hey everyone,
Trevor,
we're back.
We got Trevor with a shirt today.
Shirt.
We got a shirt. So you shouldn't see if you can only see the fashion faux pas in the rest of the office, though, that would be the thing. So today we are talking about mortgage deferral and specifically how it relates in Canada with the COVID-19. Just a little bit of an update before we get into the mortgage deferrals. We've seen some payments go through the provincial system. It's really bottlenecked. It's glitching out, but you know, it looks like it's coming along. And there has been some updates to the federal EI support system for business owners. They've changed the name yet again, but again, the stuff is pretty vague at this point. But it looks like there's something coming down in the pipe. But it's kind of a hurry up and wait on the federal program for April.
Shocking.
So Trevor, when it relates to the mortgage deferrals, what are the questions? What are people asking?
Yeah, well, the first question would be, what was announced on March 18th?
So March 18th, the Canada large banks, it said, quote unquote, I'm going to quote right from the CRA website, it says, Canada's large banks have confirmed that this support will include up to a 6-month payment deferral for mortgages. So that was posted directly on the CRA website. March 18th, everyone was ready to go on that one. So
yeah, we saw that. So the next question, Josh, were protocols communicated to frontline staff before the announcement?
100% no. They were not communicated to the staff. So I want you to put it in perspective. Imagine if you worked at McDonald's and you're flipping burgers, making fries at McDonald's, and all of a sudden on your way into work one day, you start hearing McDonald's now offering ribeye steak, medium rare, whenever you want it. And then, you put on your headset, you're at the drive-thru, and all of a sudden you start pulling up and say, I want that ribeye steak medium rare for $1, please. And people were scrambling. That's exactly what was happening.
Would you like fries with that?
In the banks, they had no idea what to do. The promise was out there, the cat was out of the bag, but no one had an idea how to handle it internally. They didn't have their marching orders.
Awesome. Next question. What were some of the common early responses?
So the common early responses were, no, we're not doing it, even though it had been announced, or you don't qualify, even though they didn't know who did qualify. They were just saying you didn't qualify. And they were telling people, we'll have to take some information, we'll have someone get back to you. They're not getting back to you if they said that.
They will not call you back.
We'll look into it, we'll get back to you after April. Which is when people needed it, was the 1st of April. So there was a whole bunch of, terrible responses that came out of that. So.
Yeah. Now, why is it impractical for banks to verify individual circumstances right now?
So let's think about how most people get a mortgage verified. It usually runs on a 5-year running schedule, right? So every 5 years, you're going to renew your mortgage. You look at all the property owners out there, and once every 5 years, people are going to go through it. And even if you're renewing, the due diligence is usually pretty low, right? Unless you're, extending the amortization period or, getting some more equity out. But, and the thought that they were going to drill into everybody's individual circumstance and re-qualify them for their mortgage all at once, it's just, it's bizarre. There's no practical way for the banks to really drill into this. And even if you're looking, these circumstances are unique. We're trying to project what people are going to earn next month in a 100-year pandemic. It's unthinkable.
Yeah, completely unprepared.
Yeah.
How have the banks responses changed since March 18th?
Now they're starting to get approvals. So you're starting to get approvals. You know, I had some pretty funny discussions with some bankers that I know, and they told me some things about what happened, and you know, some of the what's come down from above on approving things, and it's you know, we can't say the instructions directly on YouTube. We might get banned from YouTube, but it was basically get everyone approved. So you know, they're starting to communicate it down. People are getting their approvals. You know, so you got to be persistent on that. So.
Yeah. So if they said no the first time, contact them again.
Call back.
Yeah.
Call back. You know, if they're giving you an appointment 3 weeks in advance, just call back. You get a no, call back again tomorrow. You'll get your response. You just got to be patient with it and persistent, but don't be ridiculously patient, because you could avoid, you know, having to make an unnecessary monthly payment come the first of the month here.
Yeah. Now, what would you tell anyone out there who has called once and got rejected? We kind of went over that.
Yeah, so same thing. Just call back. You know, make sure you call back. The answer that you got the first time, the answer you got at 9 o'clock in the morning might be different from the answer you get at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're rolling it out. They're educating their team. So
now, will deferring your mortgage cost you more in interest in the long run?
Yes, it will cost you more in interest. They're not giving you an interest-free period. They're just taking the payment, they're accruing the interest, and they're deferring it to after. So they're either going to, you know, increase your payment or tack it on to the end of the amortization period. But it's going to cost you more in interest for sure to do this.
Now, will this affect your credit rating?
It will. Like it's wrong for me to say no, but in majority of the circumstances, it will be minor. I mean, maybe you had a 750 credit rating and maybe it's going to be 749. You know, it could be different in different people's scenarios. You know, they potentially drop drastically. The potential is there. Is it likely? No, not likely. You know, and usually if it's going to dramatically impair your credit, you probably have a lot of other things going on at this point in your credit. Anyway, this isn't going to be the defining factor of your credit rating.
Okay. The next question is, do you think the banks want people to take advantage of this program?
Absolutely not. They do not want you to take advantage of this program. They promised it. Their early responses almost looked like they were trying to get out of it. You know, I've seen some PR pieces from RBC through CBC where they're trying to, you know, fearmonger people into this is going to affect your credit. You're going to pay so much more in interest. Yes. And yes, they're right on both accounts, but the degree of which they described it, you know, made me think that they are trying to persuade people against it. Even though I think a lot of people should definitely be considering it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, what's a bigger problem, paying a little more in interest or running out of cash?
So, I mean, if it comes to it, you know, here's what it is. Are you going to pay more in interest? Yes. Could your credit rating be 740 instead of 750? Yes. What's your credit rating going to be if you run out of cash and can't pay anything?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's going to be abysmal, right? So if you're, you know, stuck in between, you know, what's the right, you know, answer, it's, you know, running out of cash is far worse than paying a little bit more interest, right?
Yeah. Now, what timeline should people be considering when choosing if they should defer?
We've been talking about this for a while now, that this is potentially a 6 to 9 month event, right? When you start looking at the projections that we have in other jurisdictions, you know, we're behind, you know, other, you know, China and Italy and things like that, right? And, you know, maybe we get it as serious, maybe we don't, but we can kind of start to see the length of this, this pandemic, right? And I'm telling people, you know, you have to plan on a 6 to 9 month event, right? You really should be taking a long-term horizon on this. You shouldn't be thinking, can I make my mortgage payment next month? You should be thinking, you know, what does my 6 to 9 month cash flow look like from here on out?
Yeah, it's just planning ahead. So the next question is, do you think people should wait until they're out of cash before deferring?
No, I don't think you should wait till you're out of cash, because then it might be too late. Maybe the deferral of one payment, you know, in month 3 of this pandemic, maybe it won't work then, right? So, but if you could go back in time and defer 6 payments, you might have gotten through this, right? You know, we're talking specifically to business owners when their incomes are highly variable. That this is a very unpredictable time, and those last 2 or 3 months of deferrals might not save you, but if you can go back in time and defer all 6, maybe that's the way to do it.
The next question is it easier to take advantage of mortgage deferral or obtain additional financing?
Your mortgage deferral is going to be far easier. They've come out, of course, these federal government responses. We've been talking about them. It makes it think that there's business loans flowing all over the place.
Yes.
They're not flowing any new money yet. Don't kid yourself. Like, BDC isn't beating down your door to give you anything. That's you're lucky if you can get through on a phone call to get arrange an agent before April 1st. Never mind if you can get a loan dispersed before then. So it is far, far, far easier to defer any mortgages or existing term loans with the big banks than to get a new loan.
Yeah, I think the only people who would be getting any money from them would be people who already owe them significant amounts of money.
That's how they want to do it. The banks are going to take a look at it. They look at, if they're into someone for $500,000, they would rather lend them an additional 100 than someone new off the street, because they look at that as protecting their original investment in you, right? So new money is hard to come by, and it's going to be until they figure out how much they have to lend to protect their existing interests.
Yeah. Now, next question here. How would you rank mortgage deferral to some other deferral options out there?
I like it better. When you look at most small businesses, they only got 2 real levers that they can pull, right? They can reduce their labor costs, or they can reduce the cost of the space that they're in. It usually far exceeds any of the other levers that they can pull on what they're paying on dues and subscriptions or interest in bank charge. Like it's just far different of a number, right? So, when it comes to, we've heard things like they're going to defer utilities, right? You can defer property taxes, but we have no idea or no idea what those repayment provisions are. That could mean you're going to pay double payments at the end of the 6 months.
Yeah.
And 6 months from now, it's not, although the pandemic might have that curve might have flattened out, right? The economy isn't going to be cooking at that point, right? So the ability that you're going to be able to make double payments, and do you want to owe do you want to owe one bill to TELUS and one bill to the city of Edmonton and one bill to Rogers and one bill to Direct Energy, and you're trying to negotiate all these different items and figure out, trying to, look through it, when the effectiveness of deferring your mortgage payment would probably, equate to all of those other ones, a factor of 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially if you are leasing a large property.
Yeah.
Say 6 or 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the next question I have here is how do interest rates on business loans and personal mortgages compare?
Yeah. So here's the other thing. Let's say you can get the business loan. Most of the time, I'm going to say like 90% plus of the time, your interest rate on a residential mortgage is the lowest form of interest you can find. The interest that you're paying on that business loan is almost always higher. So even if you could obtain the business loan, it's going to be for a higher rate than you could have got on a mortgage on a residential, or even a mortgage on a commercial property.
Okay. So, can deferring personal loans help entrepreneurs reduce taxes?
Yeah, if you got a personal mortgage out there, this isn't like a dollar for dollar reduction. Let's say let's say your mortgage payment is only $1,200 a month. Okay, so it's $1,200 a month. If you're in a 40% tax bracket, taking that money out, you would have had to take, $2,000 out of a month out of your corporation, paid $800 in tax, and then paid that $1,200 mortgage. So we're talking about before tax dollars. So, with an effective tax plan, you can likely save your cash flow, more than what that mortgage is, because now you can avoid the personal tax on getting that money out of the corporation to pay the personal mortgage in the first place. So it's a big lever to pull.
Awesome. So the next question and the last question, should you consider rental income secure in your cash flow projections?
No, it is going to be the Wild West out there in terms of getting tenants to pay, So if you're running your cash flow projections and you're looking at kind of worst case scenarios for your business, also look at worst case scenarios for your tenants, in that your rental income could go to zero. And can you make that mortgage payment if that rental, if your worst case projections for your business come through and your rental income comes to zero? So you got to think long and hard about, okay, it is going to save you some money in interest if you continue to make these payments, but are you absolutely sure you're not going to run out of cash? And I don't mean you're going to run out of cash next month. Are you going to run out of cash sometime by the end of the year? That's the question that we're dealing with here. So those are the considerations. Think long and hard about this. They put this tool out there for people to use. It's not right for everybody, but you should think long and hard about it because it's right for a lot of people. So that's what we have here this time. We'll have more coming up on rent reductions. Thanks very much.